Welcome to this week's episode. It's all about the Chiefs corners and the receivers. Who will make the biggest impact? All of this next on Gridiron Gambit.
Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom Media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Let's work. Hey.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Gambit. I'm your host today, Dale Fowler, along with my two partners that I love to have with me so much, Clinton and Lonnie. How y'all doing today?
Awesome, man.
Good. Doing good.
Man, it's a lot going on. We entering the mandatory minicamp portion of this off season, and we are already seeing some great things from the Chiefs players. We definitely have a lot to talk about today, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So, for our first topic today, Trent Top Two. So this week, Trent McDuffie, he was ranked as the number 2 best cornerback by Pro Football Focus. With the departure of L'Jarius Sneed and his first team All-Pro nomination, will Trent showcase himself as the number 1 quarterback on the team this year? And will he fulfill his PFF ranking? So Lonnie, let's go ahead and start with you first.
Yeah, so I think he will have the opportunity to definitely showcase his talents as a number 1 corner this year on the team. However, I'm not sure what that looks like, being that Trent is going to be playing at different positions. He's a person that played a lot primarily in the slot, but now I think he's going to be playing outside as well, being that L'Jarius Sneed is no longer there. So I think this is a nomination that he has a chance to wear on his sleeve and go out there and prove. He's been an All-Pro both years that he's been in the league. His reputation I think precedes itself. As far as who he is as a corner. So I think this is the year for Trent McDuffie to go be the number 1 corner for the Chiefs. I don't know if they match him up like they did L'Jarius Sneed, being that he was primarily a slot guy and he wasn't following guys' number 1 wide receiver. However, wide receivers do tend to move around these days, be in the slot all over to the likes of Tyreek Hill. But I think Trent McDuffie will do fine. He played on the outside too early on. When he first got here in Kansas City. So I don't think there'll be any problem with him if he has to match up with number 1 corners. But I think this just says a lot about the cornerback and the player himself. This is a man that has lived up to the billing since he's came into the NFL. This is a testament to really Trent McDuffie's work ethic. He's exceeded expectations at this point. 2-time Super Bowl champion, a guy that they traded up to get. So it's something that I really love to see it. And it's going to be, I think, a sight to behold with what he's going to put on for this year for the world to see. So I think he has a chance to live up and fulfill this nomination for sure.
I'm kind of in the middle of the two stances here because I think that from what we've seen so far, Trent McDuffie certainly has the talent, and already having gotten that All-Pro nomination last season with his full actual season of tape with a full game, 17-game season. It's good to see him kind of thrust into this role of being the Chiefs' number 1 corner and kind of take the spotlight and the setbacks that could occur from that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the guy who ranked ahead of Trent McDuffie is Sauce Gardner, and I think we all know him mostly as a boundary type corner and only plays on the outside. So while the NFL may be in the last 5 to 10 years or so showing that a slot cornerback is important and that they value that as highly as they do the man-to-man type corners, it still is not showing that ranking-wise. And I think for Trent McDuffie, the best thing for his career was having L'Jarius Sneed last season. And I think for the rest of his career going forward, it's having those good, still boundary-type cornerbacks who will take up the space on the outside. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that are good enough to follow a receiver. But I think this team, and more particularly Trent McDuffie, is the best player possible when he is allowed to play in that slot position. And that says good things about Trent, but it may not when it comes to his bank account or in NFL accolades. And like I said, it's good that L'Jarius Sneed was around last season, so it was a chance for Trent to stay within that slot role. And clearly the NFL valued that enough that him being in the slot, he still made an All-Pro. But if you had said a scenario like that 10 to 20 years ago, I don't think that would have ever occurred in the NFL. So we'll see if he is just that type of game-breaking cornerback where his value in the slot is so valuable, and the NFL changing to how it is now and always playing in nickel sets and being pass first most of the time. We'll see if that third cornerback that's always like the backups on other teams back in the day is now, the guy who's being asked to be the number one cornerback on the team, and for the Super Bowl winning teams nonetheless.
Well, y'all know how I feel about Trent McDuffie. I have boasted about him, honestly, ever since he came in as a rookie. Now I know he missed like the first 5 or 6 games in his 6 games in his rookie year. However, when he came back, he showcased why he was the guy that we went after. That we went after in the first round. And actually before George Karlaftis too with that first pick, because we did have 2 picks in that first round. But just his skill set and the way that he is able to play that slot corner position, it just has been phenomenal. And a lot of times people think that, hey, when you're playing in the slot, you're either playing against like the 3rd or 4th wide receiver. That's not the case in the NFL no more. Lonnie, you said it earlier, that you're matching up against guys like Tyreek Hill, who's moving all around that offense and just going in and motioning in and out. So I think just being able to, keep up with those particular players and then showcasing that you can lock down one of the best wide receivers in the game as well too. He showed that he will be the guy coming into this next season. So I'm excited for what we have going on. Clinton, you made some great points about having some great boundary guys as well too, because we do like length on the outside, which L'Jarius Sneed had the physical capability of doing. So we will see if guys like Jalen Watson, who stepped up in his rookie year when we had Trent McDuffie out, had some big games and played some big roles as well too, getting an interception against the Los Angeles Chargers, taking it back for 6, which actually pushed us forward to be able to win that game. So he showed that he's able to step up on the outside. Then you also have Joshua Williams that we're hoping that's going to take this next big leap. And if he can do that, then wow, we're great. We're great all around the board. And then we have a young guy who missed the entire season, but last camp was very phenomenal in Najee Johnson. And as of now, it looks like he's still doing good. So we just hope that he stays healthy. But honestly, Trent McDuffie, he's set up to be someone who can honestly go one up to the ranking that he has right now with PFF to number 1 if he does the same as what he did last year. But Trent, we got to add some interceptions on there, because that's what they want to see. You're great with the forced fumbles. You're great. You're a great tackler. When to attack at the point of attack, you have all of that. What we got to do now, when you have the opportunity, get those interceptions. You don't have to take it back for 6, but just go ahead, make the play on the ball, and then that's just going to add more to the bucket of what you already possess. So, Trent, I know you can do it. We have all the faith in you. This is your year, and this is your time to showcase why you might be the next guy who reset the cornerback market in the future. So, any other thoughts before we go ahead and move on to our next topic?
And I just want to give a hot take on that, period. I think that Sauce Gardner is winning that race because of name. Nobody swung the turnover differential. And this is just something that we can all 3 debate on. This is like just off topic. I know we're going off kilter a little bit, but nobody swung the turnover differential like Trent McDuffie. Like, dude, Let's talk about it. Like the forced fumbles. Like, I don't think no cornerback had even nowhere near as many forced fumbles as Trent McDuffie had. Like, I mean, it was ridiculous. So I think the number one ranking is for name because he was getting turnovers. He just didn't do it in the conventional corner way. He was doing it like a
I agree.
linebacker.
I
Like,
I agree, but it's not like Sauce. If you wanted to make a debate, he would be considered the number one cornerback. I wouldn't lie. Like, I don't think we would debate as much just because we know his skill set. But something that you like to go off a lot as well too, Lonnie. You weren't on a winning team. What did your play really do for the team? Did it really were you able to overcome and go ahead and step into the playoffs and fight to go for that Lombardi? Now I understand that Aaron Rodgers was out, but I would say for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we didn't lose Patrick Mahomes for a whole season, and I'm gonna knock on wood right now. We had guys like Chad Henne. We had guys like Matt Moore at times to where at least they were able to step up, but the entire team, they know that we were missing our best position, which is quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, and they came together. Now, the defense did step up, and they made a lot of plays, and like when we go by points per game, the Jets were solid. But sometimes when it comes to where you lose your best quarterback, offense not doing as much, they're going to ask for a little bit more. So I get that. That's why I can't make that debate how I want. But Trent McDuffie being in the top 3, I'm definitely satisfied with it. I'm okay with it. So, Clean, anything you want to add on before we go?
No, all good here.
All right. So, going to our next topic. So, looking at Lattimore, we're going to stay within the cornerback position right now. And it's been a lot of chatter, a lot of rumors that has been going around with Marshon Lattimore for the New Orleans Saints that he could be up for a trade this offseason. And one team that has been circling that conversation is the Kansas City Chiefs. So does this trade make sense for the Chiefs? And does the reward match the potential risk of actually going ahead and making that deal with the New Orleans Saints? Clinton, let's go ahead and start with you.
I guess I'd almost follow that up with a question of whether or not the contract length or the money is terribly skewed in one way or the other, because I think the pairing makes perfect sense. As I just stated earlier about Trent McDuffie and him doing the best if he has those other boundary type cornerbacks who will play that role instead. I think Marshon Lattimore, a former All-Pro in his own right, is that player to a T. And anything that allows Trent McDuffie to play in his best position, I'm all for it. I would love to raise the floor of the cornerback rooms. You just lost a Pro Bowler, a guy who just got massively paid once you officially sent him out to Tennessee. But all the other cornerbacks that the Chiefs keep puffing up who are playing on the boundary are getting paid tens of millions of dollars a year. And that might be shoving McDuffie down the line in terms of his value. But I think a Marshon Lattimore, somebody who's already been around the NFL for as long as Patrick has, we always hear that story about how those two are always connected. A trade that never happened. But it could be that perfect pairing that the Chiefs might be looking for. But I think what we've seen from this team is just their faith in Dave Merritt and the whole defensive coaching staff as a whole to be able to raise up guys who are not the most highly pedigreed or aren't from the biggest schools or weren't highly recruited. Trent McDuffie is the only first-round cornerback the Chiefs have, and the only one since Marcus Peters 10 years before that. So the Chiefs were not adding defensive back high up in the draft for very much of any of Brett Veach's tenure. So I would love this pairing if the money makes sense. Obviously not, $5-10 million range, but if it's a couple $1 million and it makes sense for the team and the Chiefs medical staff doesn't have any worries or concerns about Lattimore, at least for the rest of this season, I say why not and give it a shot.
Lonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was gonna say the same thing. Depending on what the deal looks like, and what the compensation is, because we know that this is not a long-term answer. This will be a band-aid. And you guys know how I feel about the band-aid stuff with the Chiefs. But I understand that we do have a need. We think we as fans, we tend to ponder and think and tend to panic when we don't know. I think it's human nature to fear the unknown. I think the outside corner spot is just kind of a little shaky and unknown for us right now. I think if it makes sense, I mean, this is a guy that's a veteran. He's been around the league. He's been here for a long time. He's down there with Tyrann Mathieu, a guy that knows Spags through and through. He's down there with Colin Saunders, another guy that knows Spags through and through. It makes a lot of sense. That's a scheme that has to be somewhat close to Dennis Allen's because we have two guys there. So, I mean, if the money is right, I can see it possibly happening, but I just think it would have to be something drastic to happen out there on the outside corner with Mr. Watson or Williams, or even to the likes of Najee Johnson or Kamal Hadden at this point, just because I don't know if the Chiefs are in the company just as far as that DB room is in the getting band-aids. I don't know if they weren't trying to get any older in the corner department, and guys are getting younger and faster at that position. So I don't know if that's the route that they go. But I'm not gonna say I don't think it's any risk. I think if you get there can only be a reward when you're trading for a player with that much upside, as a veteran, you know. So I don't think that it could be any risk there. I just think that he can only make him hungrier and want more. So I don't think it's any risk, but depending on what the deal looks like, I think it definitely makes sense.
Now I will say, looking at the contract, because I had to pull it up, it's some risk there. Because he did sign a 5-year deal worth $97 million. He had the highest paid contract at this time as well, too. And we weren't even willing to pay L'Jarius Sneed that. So, honestly, if we're not going to give it to Sneed, I wouldn't want to give those type of numbers to Marshon Lattimore. Now, keep in mind, I do think he is a great, cornerback to bring into the system if we could. Like you said before, he played with the guys like Tyrann Mathieu, and also we had Daniel Sorensen over there as well too for a year, and he was able to play with him. So I think being familiar with the system, it has to be something there where he will be able to come in and fit in. Now, but you do have a guy like Xavier Howard from the Miami Dolphins, who now post June 1st, he is officially gone from the team, and now we can go ahead and go pursue and try to bring him in on a 1-year deal instead. Because if you're going after a guy like Marshon Lattimore, his cap hit for this season will be $14 million. Next year is 31. We're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. So, do I think this is an option that the Chiefs are looking at? Of course, yeah. This is what Brett Veach does. He's going to call and acquire and see, like, hey, what can be done? What are you willing to do? Are y'all willing to take over that if we go after him? Because I know eventually I want him off the books. How does that process go? But in this case, when we're knowing how it goes with teams, with the Chiefs and everything like that, it has to make sense for them. And in years, I don't think we have even went after guys who are on contracts like this as well too. We went after guys like Kadarius Toney or those who are still in that rookie contract where we can go ahead and be like, hey, if we want to pick up that 5th-year option, we can. If not, so be it. But that's like a low risk, high reward type of situation. With Marshon Lattimore, you got to come in and pretty much say like, hey, Trent McDuffie, I got your back. You're going to be able to do the same thing that you did last year, and even more with me playing on the other side of you or right next to you. If that happens, okay, great. But it's just the numbers and looking at it. I don't think this is something that the Kansas City Chiefs want to do. The player, I would love to have him, but if I'm the Chiefs, why not just go for Xavier Howard, who is a boundary quarter, who plays on the outside, who has played against the best as well too. He will literally be filling in that role as well. So, I mean, if you do that, that's where I would want to go if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, which I want to add to that.
I mean, I can see that. Xavier Howard as a good secondary option. I would just end it with don't be surprised if Brett Veach and especially the New Orleans Saints, who can magically make money and salary cap disappear whenever they want to and come up with fake money in their contracts. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that, there's this kind of gentleman's agreement that this contract will get ripped up and they'll come up with a better one that suits the team that he's going to. And that there might be some draft capital that's exchanged that reflects that New Orleans will kind of just bite the books that they've made for themselves. And the Chiefs might be able to get him on a slightly discounted deal, which I'm not projecting or saying is definitely going to happen, but I would just end it with, don't think that both parties couldn't get a deal done if this is one of Brett Veach's, guys, and he wants him on the team, and New Orleans really wants him out, and they're willing to bite the money that is owed and just kind of start over and rip it up.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say this to both of y'all, like I said in my take, and I'm gonna end it with this. I don't know if they look for any older corners at that position. I don't think they're in the company of getting older, just particularly at that position. Just like how they have been over the year. I don't just think they're as desperate. I think we're in like the Rashard Fitton, who else was there? Charvarius Ward kind of territory, like looking for that other guy that, and if it doesn't work mid-season, okay, maybe we're looking to just hurry up and scramble and find something here. But I don't think we're in the mode to where it's like desperation. Oh, Xavier Howard's there. Okay, we're just like, no, because if you come in and we get one of these young guys and they're playing better than you, we're starting them over you. Like, it's no two ways about it. We've seen it with Josh Williams. Like, Josh Williams is gonna play. We thought Jalen Watson was definitely the better corner. Probably he was ball hawking and get interceptions, but like he's gonna play. Like he's a guy that he's earned his time, I think. So like it's something there that they see that they like and that they want these guys to play. So I just don't think we're in the company going to get any older. Just at that position, predict.
I mean, I understand with the age conversation because I think that's something that always comes up, and Brett Veach has shown to us that he likes to stay younger. But now when it comes to where you adding depth into the position, when you're adding depth, I don't think you're going to really worry about age as much. I mean, of course, they can't be extremely old. They can't be, past their prime, and they're just, not themselves anymore and just want to add you on for this run. No, a guy like Xavier Howard, he's still playing at a high level. The cap hit in Miami was just too much. You're paying too many guys, and you're paying the offensive side of the ball. So what you're going to do if you feel like offense is the way of the league now, you're going to cut off those guys on defense that you feel like, we can do this. You got Jalen Ramsey, you got some other young guys as well too. Like, we can go ahead and do that because this is a post contract that we had, and it wasn't going to be that much of a dead cap hit. In our situation, we're okay. Like, we're fine. If you want to come on over and add to the value that we already have, we know that you're a professional, that you're a veteran, and you're still playing at a high level, you will get clocked. I mean, we play pretty much all of our defensive backs. They have some type of role in that defense. So if he was to come over, I don't think he would mind. It's just when I look at the Marshon Lattimore deal and then I look at Xavier Howard, I want a Xavier Howard before you. I'm sorry. Like, let's not act like we didn't know what he did when he was one of the best defensive cornerbacks in the league. I mean, Marshon Lattimore, he was good, but he had some mishaps in the playoffs as well that is talked about a lot. We're a Super Bowl winning team. I mean, we're not going to judge you just based fully off of that, but at the same time, we didn't experience that in the past ourselves. Who's going to come over and like, hey, just do your part, play your role, and then we're good moving forward? And that's it. And that's all I got to say about that. Before we move on to our next topic, make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and also TikTok as well too. Make sure to subscribe to our Substack as well too as a free subscriber, or if you want our paid content as well, you can go ahead and become a paid subscriber as well too. We definitely have a lot coming forward, a lot coming out. We have new team members that have joined us as well too, so we're definitely gonna get you more additional content out there. So just go ahead and support the channel and subscribe to the YouTube as well too, please, because we're going towards 200 subscribers now. We made it to 151. Now we're trying to make it to the next step, getting over to 200. So go ahead and help us out. We would definitely appreciate it. Now moving on to our next topic, Worry over Worthy. So Xavier Worthy, he's been sitting on the sidelines for most of the mandatory minicamp. Well, not the mandatory minicamp, but he was sitting on the sidelines for the voluntary OTAs. And in this point, he's dealing with a hamstring injury, and it was just safety protocol the Chiefs put out there as well. They said it's not something that is extremely bad, but it's just precaution just to make sure, because they know once it gets towards that preseason going to the regular season, they want him to be ready to go. So is there cause for concern about Zay going into the 2024 season? Lonnie, let's go ahead and start with you first.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say no. There's no concern for Zay, but I am gonna go ahead and say this: Xavier Worthy. It was one question that everyone had about you going into this, and it was, can you stay healthy? And I don't think it's not looking too good right now in the media's eyes. But I don't think it's gonna be a question or a concern. Can Xavier stay healthy going into this season? I think he'll be perfectly fine. I think this was just precautionary measures from Andy Reid. Now, after he starts taking blows in training camp, and he's taking some shots to the legs, and he's getting taken to the ground, and he's running multiple routes, and it's hot out there in St. Joe. If it continues to happen, then that's when I'm going to call for concern, because now you're playing real football, and we can't be having things like that happen. That was, like I said, one of the biggest concerns with drafting Xavier Worthy at number 32. So I don't think it's a concern whatsoever, and I think it's just a precautionary measure from Andy Reid. We know how he likes to be with his guys. He will not press the gas on a speed guy if you tell me that your toe is hurting. If you have any type of lower body injury and you are running a 4-2 or you're very explosive in this offense, period, you're not going to play with Andy Reid. I just think anybody, period. I don't think he's forcing anyone to go. That's just who he is. I know he'd rather sit a guy and have us be the brunt of it. Let us take an L. We've seen it before, rather than have a guy play. So I think this is just a precautionary measure, and I think Xavier Worthy will be fine. But now, if this happens, like I said, the training camp is where I'm going to start to have my eyes peeled.
I think I'm just the tiniest bit concerned, but that's just because injuries in any way just make you feel uncomfortable, or you always assume the worst, especially if you're a Chiefs fan. You hear injuries, you're like, oh, for how long? Day to day, could be a year or next week, who knows? But for the hype train that is Xavier Worthy and the Chiefs retooling their wide receiver room, it's a little concerning, just because he was set to be a major key to start the season. And when we talk about our last topic, who is also a wide receiver, he is the guy that's meant to be the biggest impact for the Chiefs, and we're not so sure he's going to be able to play, at least to start the season, if that's how it takes place. But now there's a slight worry that Xavier Worthy will not be ready to start the season. Obviously, we're all just making assumptions. And like I said, when you see injuries, you just assume the worst case scenario. But honestly, it's a little bit hurting, just because we're wanting to see the Chiefs have a completely different idea for how they want to do wide receivers. Shout out Hollywood Brown, being your birthday today as we're recording. You are set to be the Chiefs' number one wide receiver, and that's only because the second year wide receiver on their team might not be able to play for all of the season like we hope. But Xavier is set to be a big contributor for us, and especially in his rookie year. And we've seen the ability that rookie wide receivers can actually make an impact in an Andy Reid offense, which we would never have assumed possible prior to last year. But we learned that anything is possible, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. So we're all rooting for Xavier, hoping that he feels better and is able to showcase his speed that he's got and be able to make an impact on the Chiefs offense, because they've mentioned how much they want to be able to change back to their old identity and being explosive and throwing the ball deep down the field. And I know that the Chiefs have big plans for him. So let's hope these injuries are just minor and it's Andy Reid being cautious about the situation and not signs that there might be something wrong for the long term.
I get both points of what both of you were that you all provided. But in this case, I will say for me, I am not worried. Just knowing that Xavier Worthy coming in, seems like he didn't have that much of an injury history in college. So I feel, with Andy Reid, just taking the precaution, knowing that, coming in that he's going to be prepared and he's going to be active in this offense early on, coming up with mandatory minicamp that, started now and now going forward. I just hope that he's able to be present in that and be active. Now, what we're discussing was for the voluntary OTAs, and eventually it was like, you know what, let's go ahead and calm down. It's not mandatory for him to be out there yet. Let's go ahead and pump the brakes. That way we're prepared for him going forward. Knowing coming into this season, Clinton, like you mentioned, we don't know what's going on with Rashee Rice. We don't know if it's going to be delayed. We don't know if he's going to get the suspension now, but we have to be prepared for that. Knowing that our other option outside of Travis Kelce last season, and then coming to this season being paired up with Hollywood Brown, we were already feeling comfortable. And then having Xavier Worthy coming in as well was like, oh, we're going to be electrifying. And I still have that same faith of being electrifying. And then the incident happened. So now we were like, okay, at least we have something to lean on. So I do get the calls for like, hey, what's going on? Because now that's just leaving Hollywood Brown out there. And he's looking good as well, too. He's been playing phenomenal in camp. Now we got to get the pads on. We got to go get some live action to see what's going on in those games. But still, it's looking good. So I'm just, tempering my expectation right now. I'm not looking at it as, you have an injury history already. We see fans from opposing teams that traded with us with that pick, trying to say that they had the better pick due to the fact that he's injured now. But they don't know how this system works over here. Andy Reid, he's not thirsty to get his guys out there to see what they're going to do. When I picked you, I know what you're capable of. So the focus right now is making sure that you're 100%. That way, when we go into the season, we can go ahead and shut all their haters up. So, Zay, good. We're good. I know you fine. It's all right. You having fun, flashing the money, throwing it on your girl, trying to be player. I know that you just having fun, but this is what we do over here at the Chiefs, with the Chiefs organization. We're not gonna rush anybody out there because we didn't have that history before. We didn't dealt with the injuries of Tamba Hali and Justin Houston. We didn't have the Derek Johnsons go out for the season out of nowhere, doing all that. We didn't dealt with the Jamal Charles. Andy Reid, he's not trying to have those issues. If anything, he wants these guys prepared to go once the postseason start. Because what happened when we were the number 3 seed, we had to play all games within the postseason, no bye week. But guess what? We had people ready to go. And even the ones that we thought that were going to be active, and then they said they could be active, like the Sky Moores or the Kadarius Toney, we said, we good. We got the train running. But if we needed anyone, we were ready. So I think Andy Reid has a new mindset of like, hey, this doesn't mean nothing. This is for the cameras right now. This is what's going to be going on social media. Once they yell your name on Sundays, once you see the highlights of you scoring touchdowns on Sundays, that's what we want. So right now, just go ahead and calm down and we good. So Xavier Worthy, not tripping off that. I think he's going to be 100% by the time we see more of him in this mandatory minicamp and going into the training camp as well too in July, and then going off into preseason. So I have faith in that. Anything y'all want to add to that before we go ahead and move on?
Nope.
None.
All right. Now on to our last topic. Rashee Rice X-Factor. So Pro Football Focus mentioned that the X-Factor for the Chiefs this season is wide receiver Rashee Rice. Now, he did show up and show out last year when we asked for him to do that. He was our guy who was the yak guy who was getting the yards after the catch and making a lot of big plays, getting us downfield. And he kept that going into the postseason as well too, having his first 100-yard game in the postseason against the Miami Dolphins. Rice is still set to miss time though, due to his his mishaps and the incidents that had this offseason. One of them, of course, it looks like has got cleared up and then charges was dropped, but he's still dealing with the vehicle situation that's going on, and they're waiting for that to go to trial and get that taken care of. Now, the hope is to get that done as soon as possible, but it is potential that it could be pushed to the 2025 season. Regardless of when he's coming back or if he's going to play the full season or not, is he the new X Factor in Kansas City coming up this season? Let's start with you, Clinton.
Ooh, I think prior to this offseason, I would have said there's no doubt about it. But I think ultimately, based on the offseason that he's had and just the fact that he's not a rookie anymore, there's no longer this mystique or, randomness to it. I really do think Rashee got the benefit of, being the best wide receiver on the team last year, and most of the attention always going to Travis Kelce every single time. And I think that Rashee was able to capitalize off of that, and we're grateful for that. We're thankful, and that he was able to ball out. But we were asking a lot for a rookie wide receiver in an Andy Reid offense. Like I said, he's the first of his kind, other than Tyreek Hill, and even Tyreek did not have as big of an impact that he was eventually go to have for the Chiefs and now Miami Dolphins. So I would argue that it's almost shifted it to Hollywood Brown, because he is the version of wide receiver that is unknown within this offense. So it is the one that there's not a lot of expectations or, conceptions about what it could end up being, and his impact on the team. Whereas Rashee Rice pretty much had his identity established, by week 4 of last year. And I think now that there's a full off season of tape to look at him and see where he struggles and see what could potentially match up against him on the other side, on the cornerback side of the field. We might not see the same type of impact that Rice had last season this season, and we may not see the numbers that he got last year, basically being one of, if not the sole best option that Chiefs had at wide receiver. I just think that they've changed up the room enough that there's some new options in there, and I think that may impact Rashee Rice's statistics for the Chiefs going forward.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say Rashee Rice is the X Factor, because the X Factor, as long as he's here and as long as he always will be here, will always be Travis Kelce. He's always the X Factor. These other guys are supporting casters until he's gone. So these are the guys that are just gonna get the guys that are not guarding Travis Kelce, the 2 or 3 guys that are guarding Travis. These are the guys that may be occupying them. So I wouldn't say he's an X factor. I think there's a ton of different factors, X factors, when it comes to the Chiefs, not just one player. I think that's what made them special last year. They were able to get him and Pacheco and Kelce going. It was a more traditional offense, running a more running style offense, a more run heavy offense, play action heavy offense. Something that we just haven't seen a lot of from Andy Reid. They totally changed the whole shape of the way that they played the game last year. made it more Bill Belichick-esque, should I say. So I don't think he's the X factor. I think these other guys like Hollywood Brown, outlying factors like Kadarius Toney, people like Sky Moore, these other guys coming in as far as like wide receivers, and I think those are are Wiley, the tight end. I think those are going to be the X factors. I think those are going to be the people that he's trying to figure out and lean on. Like Clint said, if anybody, I think this falls on Hollywood Brown, being that he's a veteran. And he's established himself, and he knows, like you said, he's made those adjustments. He's been in the league for multiple years, so he knows what corners are going to try and do to him. I think that's a big ask of Rashee Rice. But I think those other guys that have some time and been established, and even the new guys, young guys coming in, they have an opportunity to sneak up on people. And the older guys have a chance to take advantage of their wisdom on guys. But when you're in that sophomore space, you usually see a sophomore slump, like Clinton said. So I don't want to put that on Rashee Rice, but I don't think he's the X factor. I think that the Chiefs they know what's coming down the line, and I'm pretty sure they've planned around that, unfortunately. So I don't know how far he's worked into that game plan still, but I don't know if he's that big of an X factor. I really don't think he's still an X factor. I'm sorry.
So truthfully, honestly, I'm going to go with saying that he can and will be the X factor this season. I think we all may have somewhat different versions of a definition, but it's a guy that's skillful, right? But when I look at the X factor, somewhat I compare it to when we had our X factor back in the day, Dante Hall. Was Dante Hall literally the best player on the team? No. But he made a lot of great plays, and he made some phenomenal returns, kick returns, and also punt returns as well too when the Kansas City Chiefs needed it. With Rashee Rice, I think him coming back after the suspension, after everyone had a little taste of Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and seeing how that offense is moving, of course, that we have with Travis Kelce. I don't give Travis Kelce that title because it's like he's that guy. That's how I feel. Like you're that guy. We know what you're capable of. We know what you're bringing to the table. It's no element of surprise for you. Rashee Rice, he still had some things that he had to work on within his game. He had to get better with the deep routes, and he was able to connect with Mahomes towards the end of the season in that Bengals game, right? But he still had a little more that he had to add to his arsenal, and he's still been working on it this offseason, regardless of the issues that he has had. So I think when he comes out and then we see him play, we're going to be like, oh, the elevation of what we seen last year coming into this season, and then you're bringing more elements to the offense as well too. I think we're going to be like, whoa, wow, that looks great. I like how this is coming together, because now we have gotten all three phases of the offense that we wanted back. We got Kelce, who is our guy who's going to be doing the intermediate routes, playing in the middle, doing all of that, right? You got Hollywood Brown, who is going to be our deep ball threat. We saw it in camp today as well, too, where him and Mahomes were able to connect, and it looked awesome. It looked great. You got Xavier Worthy, who's going to bring that speed elements, who's going to be our motion shift guy, who's going to be able to do all of that. And then you bring back Rashee Rice. Say if it was the 8 games on that 9th game. And don't forget, we got an early bye week as well, too. So once he gets back and the train is running, and then you have a guy who's catching it, 5 or 10 yards out, and then making a play after the ball as well, too, after the catch as well, too. I think we're going to be like, ooh, okay. We might just give up 1,000 yards right now, y'all. That's not happening depending on the games yet. He's not getting that. And we got too many weapons on offense now. So he might not get that. And we still got Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield as well, too. We're going to have to run the ball. We're going to have to spread it out. But I think he's going to be the guy towards the end of the game. Get it to him, get downfield, get the yardage, keep the clock running, going in, going out, just showing in year 2 that he has matured regardless of what he has been through this offseason. I think we're going to be excited for that. Now, if he's not an X factor, Hey, it is what it is. I can be wrong. I would love for someone else to step up. Damn, Kadarius Toney, you do it.
Please.
Like for real.
You better be out of here,
So,
buddy.
Yeah.
I know you want to say something.
But
I think I'm back full circle. I think since we're not so worried about his health and that everything is just holding him back, just to be showcasing it once the NFL season kicks off. His name starts with X, for crying out loud. And when I think of X Factor, I think of the player who's going to make a sneaky impact and maybe doesn't have all the pressures and the expectations put on them. And I think we all believe that Rashee Rice has that because he's second year in the NFL and he's shown himself to be a star player. Hollywood Brown has already been around the NFL long enough to be a seasoned veteran. So I think the sneaky one out of the wide receiver room is Xavier Worthy. So I think Zay X makes perfect sense for him to be the X factor for this team. And we're all just hoping that his injuries are not major and that he gets to put his speed to good use, because the Chiefs last year were definitely missing that speed and going deep aspect. And after not having it for one season, the Chiefs are dead set on making sure that they have that option every year going forward in some capacity.
yeah, and I was just gonna say I think how they use him is gonna tell us a lot about like the legal situation. I feel like going into what we're about to go into, because I don't want this to be a situation where and Dale's seen it before. You know how like rappers when they go to turn themselves in, they'll make a whole bunch of music. And get ready to like, okay, I gotta live off of this before I have to go to jail, and then I come back. Either way, I don't want it to be where Rashee Rice is like, oh my God, he's running it up to score, he's doing what you said, Dale, he's going crazy, oh my God, and all now, we get smacked with a 5-game suspension, and we lose all the momentum in the season. So it's like, I want it, we want it, but I feel like going into these OTAs and going into the training camp, that'll tell us a lot. How they're using him and what they're doing with him, I think will tell us a lot. If their offense is dependent on that, I don't think he's gonna. He may not be the one that's gone, or they may have somebody just following him a foot in step, kind of just learning what he does if he's really going to be that key. But preying on a guy that you know may not be there, I can't see Andy Reid doing something like that. Now, and I know he's going to tell them they're all going to be the guy, but we all know in reality, you're going to have somebody. Okay, when the going gets tough and that suspension does come down, because it's going to come down, whether it comes down this year or next year, you better have an answer. So you better find the answer now. So I think that going into this season is going to tell us a lot.
Yeah, we're getting close now, right? Mandatory minicamp is starting, so people got to start showing up. If you're not coming, some fines. I don't think the Chiefs are having any issues with that because pretty much everyone that we needed to be locked up, is locked up. We traded a guy who wanted that money, and attended on getting that money, so they got that done early on, and then we were able to pay Chris Jones, and he showed up to the voluntary OTAs. I think like a week or so later, and ready to go. And Travis Kelce's back as well too. So looks like the boys are ready to get it. They ready to get prepared for this upcoming season. Of course, they're looking for that three-peat, and hey, next man up if it's needed. So Rashee Rice. Either way it goes, I think we have high hopes for you regardless. It's just depending on the impact or when that suspension actually comes in is where we'll say like, hey, you'll be the X factor or not. But talent on both sides of the ball, I think they're prepared. Reed got the offense ready to go. Spags got the defense ready to go. Dave Toom got special teams ready to go. So all three phases is ready to compete. They're ready to have fun. They're ready to go out there and ball out. They got their visit done with the White House already as well too. So hey, time to get back to work. But that's all we have for this episode of Gridiron Gambit. We definitely thank everyone for tuning in and listening and watching us. We definitely love bringing you all this great Chiefs content and Chiefs news as well. We definitely have a lot of fun with it. Just don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Tap in with that and also subscribe to that Substack as well too. That way you can get the daily updates that we drop for you every day. But that's all we have for you for this
Hold
edition.
on.
What?
We made it to 150 subscribers. Shout out all the Red Kingdom Media making it to 150 subscribers. Shout out y'all.
We did.
We on the way to 200. I just want to say that. I'm checking. Shout out.
He's saying it again, y'all. He made sure. Basically, we pushing it again. Get us to 200 subscribers.
Get us to 200, please.
Get us to 200.
Once we get to 5, we doing something. I don't know what we doing. I don't know if we going to 5 PS5. We doing something.
that PS5 gonna be mine. Nah, I was just playing. We got some jersey giveaway or something.
Yeah, jersey giveaway or something. Yeah.
We definitely got y'all, but for real, we definitely thank everyone for tuning in and supporting the channel. Please continue to do so because we love doing this for everyone. But we're gonna go ahead and head out from this episode. As always, go Chiefs.
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom.